Welcome to State of Business on our television. I'm Ashingsani Veerasinghe. Let's have a look at the headlines for today. The International Monetary Fund calls for fiscal discipline as Sri Lanka braces up for multiple elections in the coming year. An independent policy think tank welcomes the COPE chairman's proposal to allow judicial offers at COPE sessions. News in detail. The International Monetary Fund calls for far-sighted policies, accelerate structural reforms and fiscal discipline as Sri Lanka braces up for multiple elections in the near future. Speaking to a local newspaper, IMF Mission Chief for Sri Lanka, Manuela Gurithi, states it will be important to maintain judicious policies and fiscal discipline in the run-up to and after the elections, since Sri Lanka still has high public debt. She also highlighted that it is important to clearly communicate the benefits of reforms to the public. Moreover, Manuela Gurithi noted that measures must be continued to remove the large number of para-tariffs as part of a further trade liberalization. She is also in the view that pension reforms, boosting jobs for youth, economic empowerment of women, and increasing educated female participation in the labour force are vital. She further emphasized that another key reform is the new legislation recently approved by Cabinet to amend the Fiscal Management Responsibility Act, bringing stronger rules and compliance. An independent policy think tank, Advocata, urges that the government opens committee proceedings to non-parliamentarians specifically for technical experts to bring in industry knowledge and scrutiny. The Advocata also welcomes the recommendation to include representatives of the Attorney General's Department at COPE proceedings and urges the government to prioritize this suggestion. The third report of the COPE was presented to the Parliament on 23rd of October this year. While presenting the latest report, its chair, JVP parliamentarian Sunil Handunetti, requested the Speaker to allow the AG department representatives to observe the proceedings of the COPE in efforts to expedite the accountability of those responsible. Advocata, an independent policy think tank based in Colombo, welcomes the recommendation to include representatives of the Attorney General's Department at COPE proceedings. Issuing a release to the media, Advocata highlights that the third report of the COPE highlights that the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation made substantial losses of 105 billion rupees in 2018. Furthermore, it also reveals that losses made by the National Water Supply and Drainage Board amounted to 505 million rupees and losses made by the Alcador Plantation Limited amounted to 33 million rupees. Advocata urges the government to further consider reform to strengthen the COPE, and at the same time, it also recommends that COPE proceedings be open to non-parliamentarians, specifically for technical experts to bring in industry knowledge and scrutiny. The Board of Investment of Sri Lanka signed a supplementary agreement with Moodys Analytics Knowledge Services Lanka Private Limited to expand IT-enabled services. The project will provide IT-enabled research and analysis services for export, provide editorial, desktop processing and compliance services, financial training, research and analysis services in respect of overseas and local securities and companies. The agreement was signed by the Chairman of the Board of Investment of Sri Lanka, Mangalayapa, and Country Head Sri Lanka of Moodys Private Limited, Dissanayake. The enterprise will set up their expansion unit to expand its activities by leasing out part of the 15th floor in the West Tower of the World Trade Center. Moodys Analytics Knowledge Services Lanka Private Limited provides offshore research support services to leading global investment banks and asset management firms in the areas of equity, fixed income and quantitative research. Dissanayake also stated that this expansion is the result of a mandate to provide credit analysis and research support services for corporate lending teams of marquee European banks, and he further noted that the expansion will result in an increase of over 100 employees for the company over the coming months. Stay tuned for more news after this short break. Welcome back after the break. Now let's see what's new in the political arena. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe states a satisfactory policy framework to increase the female labour force in the country will be launched under the New Democratic Front presidential candidate Sajith Premadasa's new government. Premier Wickremesinghe made these policy recommendations at a recent meeting organised in the Colombo district for the women representatives of the party. Addressing the meeting, Premier Ranil Wickremesinghe noted that the contribution of the female workforce is paramount, yet should be improved. He noted that the government has made plans to accelerate the export-led growth of the country and that the increased female participation at the labour market is vital to achieve this end. Premier Wickremesinghe stressed that there should be increased female participation to boost tourism and technology-driven economy. He also noted that discussions are being held with the World Bank to set up daycare centres at the vicinity of the working places, meeting the requirements of the females. Meanwhile, speaking at the same event, Minister of Power, Energy and Business Development Ravi Karunanayake made a scathing attack on the policies of the election manifesto launched by SLPP's presidential candidate Gotabaya Rajapaksa last Friday. Accordingly, speaking to female party representatives in Colombo recently, Minister of Power, Energy and Business Development Ravi Karunanayake stressed that the policies of the election manifesto of SLPP's presidential candidate Gotabaya Rajapaksa are fancy but not realistic. Thus, Gotabaya Rajapaksa vowed to update the outdated tax system while reducing the tax burden imposed on the general mass last Friday, launching his election manifesto. He pledged to reduce the income taxes for the manufacturing sector and remove the economic service charge and the withholding tax. Also, he said his government will reduce the VAT rate and annul the levies on religious places. Thus, attacking on this election manifesto, Minister Karunanayake asked how the SLPP candidate will find the 378 billion rupees if he cuts down the VAT rate by 50%. He further inquired how the SLPP government will cover the cost with the 2,000 billion national revenue after paying for pension schemes and high debts. Former chairman of the Securities Exchange Commission, Dr. Nalaka Godaheva stresses that country's economic growth this year is in a deplorable situation when most of the countries in the Asian region are performing better. Dr. Nalaka Godaheva blamed government's negligence on handling its economy, addressing a recent public platform titled Financially Sustainable Economic Development.
The GDP growth, which was hovering around 6.8 average during the first 4 years, came down to 4% average. That is until 2018. Today the situation is even worse because central bank governor himself told us recently this year Sri Lanka's economic growth rate is 1.6%. Unbelievable, because every other country in this Asian region is growing at a rate more than 5%. If you take the whole Asian region, the lowest growth rate is in Afghanistan, which is around 3%, but that's a country, a war-torn country, where there's terrorism, bombs going off every day. But we are at 6.5%, so this average will come down even further when you talk of the last 5 years. The GDP growth has been 23 billion in the last 4 years, had come down to 7.8. And I'm not going to read out all the figures. You can see from every indicator that you compare, it's an unbelievable story. It has come down so much. Some may wonder, how could a government do that to a country? Question is, how do you get this kind of a low growth? Starting from about 7.5% in 2014, coming down to 1.6 is not an easy task. You have to be absolutely incompetent to do that.
Moreover, addressing the same event, Dr. Nalaka Godaheva went on to explain some of the major reasons for the poor economic health of the country.
How did they fail like that? There are many reasons for that. If you analyze one by one, it will take a lot of time. But I would like to touch on few things that you should know. To start with, the mismatch from the very beginning. Two parties came together with two completely different ideologies, the left and the right. They can't see eye to eye. Two different economic policies, two different ways of thinking. The way they look at the society is very different. And not only that, the whole value system didn't match. So very soon the conflict started. They couldn't work together. For 4 years we saw they were battling each other, and the battle continued whilst the country was sinking. Then another thing is that in this, the policy framework was never clear. You know, when a government come to power, you normally present a policy plan.
Former Auditor General and leader of the National People's Movement, Gamini Vijay Singh, highlights that developing the local industries while making those suitable for the international market is one of the key policies of the National People's Party. Thus, Gamini Vijay Singh made these claims addressing a media briefing organized by the National People's Party today.
Our policy has been prepared basically to develop local economy, industry and etc. So for that concern, definitely we need to get a protection from the international market. So that is one of the basic principle. In Sri Lanka, it has not been given for last 3-4 decades. So therefore, all the industries and agricultural sector still we are thinking those are infant because it can't compete with the international market. So therefore, protections to be developed very well by identifying some sort of formula to local industry and local agricultural product. So that is our main policy of the development of economy.
Stay tuned for stock updates after this short break. Welcome back after the break. Trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a positive note today. The all-share price index gained 10.82 points to close at 5,946.08 and the S&P SL20 gained 5.55 points to close at 2,940.86. The turnover was 491 million rupees and over 39 million shares were traded. Up next are Forex rates. That's all the news for today. Join us tomorrow at the same time. Until then, take care.